time, in fact. So what happens? In an emergency, we cannot go there. That is a problem. It comes to my mind, to every one of us. Friend, please tell him to raise this. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Something to work with there?
So I think, I mean, while it seems like a very an issue that is more in terms of like a really visa situation, what we're really talking about is a father who wants to connect with his children, who, and also as a one is turning older, the feeling that I'm going to be probably left alone and there's nobody going to be there with me, right? This is the issue, right? This is the bottom line. So this is fair. So I think if one needs to work on this issue, and if you want to think about what I like to say parallel stories. Eric was saying as stories that you remember from a story that a person says. But I like to call it these parallel stories that are happening. So what are some other stories that you know where there is a senior person who's lived on their own or who lives on their own? Any stories that you can remember?
Child and the grandchildren, the selfish child.
The selfish child. Okay.
So he'll be a grumpy old giant,
Yes.
not allowing the children to play in his garden and all that. And finally he allows them into his garden and he has come by the children.
Yes, that's a
Also
nice.
Rapunzel.
Rapunzel.
The witch was alone, that's why she prayed Rapunzel.
Okay. So you're thinking about the witch who was alone. Okay. Who wanted company.
The story has two sides.
Yeah, of
Multiple
course.
sides.
Of course. Any other story that you can? Ah, yes, Ruth. Sorry.
Many variants of the story from the father was living by himself and not happy with it. And the three sons say, well, one son says, you can live with me. And at first it's wonderful. He lives in the city, goes to coffee shops. And the son says, I'm sorry, we have an exchange student coming. I need the bedroom. Goes to live with the second son, lives on a farm. And he says, I'm sorry, our daughter-in-law, we're going to live with us on the farm. So, and he liked it because he wrote poetry. He went out in the fields. He didn't have social contacts, but he found peace. Went to live with the third son who lived in a little village, and he went to a little coffee house and played chess every day and had contact. And then that son, something happened and he couldn't stay there. So they said, you have to go to the poorhouse. And so they boot him out, and he thinks, well, maybe I'll go to college. They give you a dormitory room, and so he's debating. He's walking, and a man meets him and says, here's what you do. And so he goes back home to his sons, and he said, when I was walking to the poorhouse, I remembered where I buried a bag of gold. And so now I have it, and I've decided I'm going to leave it to whichever one of you is the nicest to me. And now all three sons, they rotate him every 4 months. They take him to the opera. They make sure he has wonderful dinners and restaurants. And then when he dies, they go to the lawyer's office, and the lawyer says, here's a letter from your father. And he puts the bag out and says, I hope that you loved me as much as I loved you. I appreciate so much how you all took care of me, and I loved being with my grandchildren. And I hope that is richness enough, because then the lawyer shakes out the bag of supposed coins that he had found, and it was just stones. And the three brothers laugh and say, we're glad we had a chance to get to know our father. So it's a nice, happy ending to it. But it makes you feel like you're not alone with your children making their own lives, and you really sometimes don't fit into their lives. You have to figure out ways to connect.
I was just saying, thinking about all these common stories that we know. So it's an issue that is not
A movie, one or two, if I'm not right, Amitabh Bachchan and Rishi Kapoor movie that just came now. That's India about how an old age can be very, happily spent, and not think about being dependent on your children, but still take your life the way you want to be and just live it like that. So that's something.
It's not a dependence.
It's not the dependence, but
And
just
my
the-
question is in the case of emergency, you cannot visit. That is it. It's not a question of dependence. I'm not dependent. None of us are dependent. Nowadays, everyone is independent.
What is happening? So getting very agitated because
Not agitated. No, you see, I want to visit Eric. If somebody says that you can't enter Tribhuti Nagar, then it's a problem.
No, totally understand you. But the basic thing, the absolutely fundamental thing is the feeling of loneliness or what happens if something is happening to me or to someone and we're not able to actually connect. This is what it is, right? And this is the inability, or in situations like this where we are forced sometimes by not just nature, by political forces sometimes, where one cannot do what can be naturally done for a husband, for a son, father to do, right? So these are all the situations. So we can look at all these situations as in stories, like how we are looking at, because somewhere for us we cannot, if we are activists and we are in the field of activism, we can fight, we can do certain things. Yes. But apart from that, in our own lives, we need to find some resolution for this, right? And this resolution will come only when we hear more stories about these situations. Because these are not isolated situations. These have happened before. It will continue after us as well.
Somebody was denied, then the same government.
So you never know how these things take.
Okay, so Delphina has been very, I see the dynamic that goes on here. People who are far away have to wait a long time. Because the people raise their hands and just jump in. But yes, Delphina, we're coming to you. You know, Magdalene has to leave in 10 minutes, but if she had time, she would have you talking to Prime Minister Modi and talking to your father and talking to your children. It would all be going on. I know. So please join Magdalene's psychodrama sessions. But okay, now first let's Delphina, go ahead.
So my story, or what's in my mind?
Yes.
I'm getting echo. Okay, I was just thinking of the situation where I met an auto driver here in Chennai, who auto drivers are known for their pleasing money and things like that. So this auto driver was very professional, even told me like how I can take the bus or avoid having to go in auto and things like that. And but then I liked the way they interacted, so I took their number and we started like using the same person again. But then the auto driver starts asking me for a little bit of money and a little bit more, and so it goes on like this. And now I'm thinking like every time there is a story. It's my mother who's not well, it's something else is happening at home. So now I'm thinking, what's the next story they have for borrowing money? And the amount of money that was borrowed was little less, but little bit more, and now it's getting to a point where I'm not comfortable. That's what is in my mind now.
Right, the same thing is playing out in other ways, because I think once people, this is what happens in group therapy. This is what I'm running. Delphina also knows that I'm running for the group. Otherwise Delphina's it's Saturday group. No, Delphina is not in my group. But today Delphina said that Delphina, you're busy today, you're not coming to the group. Now I know why you're sitting here in your house, I think. But anyway, these are things that happen in a typical group therapy session, no? Where we are also finding I'm not the only one. There are other people like me, and other people when we hear someone else sharing a very similar thing that is happening to us, or even if it is different, but a person is sharing the emotion that that one is, maybe sadness or disappointment or fear or whatever. I think that connection brings us together, and that's what stories do. It helps us connect with one another because we're connecting on the emotional level, the emotions that are shared.
Okay, well, I like this life story activity, and but I think what I'm going to invite you to do is write down your thoughts on a pad or on your own paper. Take about 10 minutes to write down the story of your life. I know that's a what we yes, I know you know. Yes. So the story of your life began where you were born, and it has come to this. But this is not the end of the story of your life, right? We all hope to live happily ever after. So we are somewhere midway in our lives. So tell the story of your life. Just write on 1 or 2 pages. I'm going to give you 10 minutes. Autobiography. And you can, when I do this in a business context, you know, people don't want to get too emotional about things. I suggest write especially about what do you love to do? What unique talents, skills, and interests have you developed? When did you first discover you had a special interest in something? And how have you developed it through your education and your work? You can take that approach. With college students, it's all about choosing a college and choosing a career. With most of the people in my storytelling workshops, it's mostly women who are looking to go back into the workplace after having children. So the most typical life story I get from them is, I love college. I love all the activities. Then I had to get married, and I've had 1 child or 2 children, and I'm helping my husband. But now the children are getting older, and I want to go back to some sort of work. Often they don't even need the money because their family has. But for the, for the intellectual and social fulfillment. So, but forget about these other examples. Just write the story of your life, however you want to write it. And I'm just doing this to help you raise some issues, raise some material that we'll then play with in the remainder of the session. So I'm going to stop talking now. Sudarsana, Sudhir, Priya, Delphina, and anyone else listening, please find a pad of paper and a pen or pencil and take 10 minutes to write the story of your life, beginning with where you were born, coming here, and then if you want to add a little addendum about your ideas for the future. Okay, starting now, we're going to go for maybe 8 minutes. Go ahead. Stop, no talking. You have to go inside yourself. We can draw pictures too. Oh. It's too cool.
Yeah, I think we. You are waiting for the emerging device.
Okay, is that about enough time? One more minute, 30 seconds. We'll, we'll start the group again in 30 seconds. Okay, so now we have the raw material. Let me make sure these people understand. Okay, so now you have the raw material needed for this process. And the next step, these steps, we're just doing a little introductory process here. So you'll do it alone. Think about your life story. Think about what some turning points have been. Maybe you make a note to yourself or underline something. Think about have there been any really typical situations with your father, with your mother, that you've heard about other people experiencing. You've heard about other people experiencing that kind of thing too. You know you're not the only one. So, in a sense, some of these issues are social issues. You've experienced it intensely personally, but it may also be a social issue. So you're looking for the archetypes. Jung was thinking about what's going on in one's unconscious and also the collective unconscious of the whole community, of the whole society, and finally of the whole of all humanity. So look at the objects, relationships, situations, and see if any part of it, what parts of it ring a bell. And those parts that ring a bell, then you go to the next step and try to remember situations from epics, from movies, from historical events, where other characters experience something a little similar. So why don't you just write down for a few moments, underline what seems like a turning point or an archetype, and then jot down a couple of titles of movies or Mahatma Gandhi did or some other historical figure, or just something you heard about that is similar to what you've gone through somewhere in your life story. Just take a couple minutes. Connect your life story with some other story outside yourself, or some aspect of your life story. Now the next step is changing the stories. One way to change stories is to shift them from first to third person or third to first person. In other words, if you take an autobiographical story, I did this, I did that, you can shift it to, there was a boy, a young man. I always think of myself as a boy or a young man, even though I'm almost old. There was a young man who did such and such and such. You can tell the same story that happened to me, but if I project it out to an external character, it'll have a different feeling. It'll give you different ideas. If you do it, it'll give you different ideas, it'll give you different feelings. So that's about externalizing onto an external character something that was internal. Likewise, one of the stories that you've collected as being somehow related to your experience. Maybe it happened to Karna, but Try telling it, I am Karna. Let me tell you about something that happened to me one time. Or I am Sita. Let me tell you what happened to me one time. Once you step into a character and speak from her point of view, it has a totally different feeling. It often helps one and one's listeners connect on a much deeper emotional level than if you're just describing somebody far away or long ago. And in terms of painting scenes or adding scenes, that's a whole other project. But that's one of the steps. But let's skip to and let's skip role playing for now. Let's skip to discussion of metaphors. Now I'm going to bring up some metaphors on the screen. No, that's Magdalene. No. Here we go. The difference between a metaphor and a simile is that a simile is a logical statement. A simile is saying, he's like something. This is like that. That's logical. That's rational. But to make a jump and say, there was a mountain, that totally replaces the original thing. A metaphor replaces the original thing. Whereas a simile says the original thing is like this new thing, but a metaphor just replaces it. Now these are really adjectives, right? These are animal metaphors. In India, when you say someone's chicken, does it have a particular meaning?
Scared.
He's scared. Same. So just like in the USA, chicken means scared. He's crabby. Obviously, that is universal. Cow is very interesting. I will not be cowed. What is a cow?
Bully.
It's a cow is a female. A bull is a bully. It is built into the English language that females are going to be cowed and men are going to be bullies. We can't escape it. It's in the language. We've got to change the language. We've got to change these words. How about dog? Dog has lots of different meanings. Dog can be a human's best friend, but it can also, doggedly mean with determination, but it's also a big insult. You know? I've heard women say about men, he's a dog. He'll chase after anything. And then men will sometimes call women. That also is a bad negative. So dog is a mixed bag. It can be positive, it can be negative. Color symbolism, color metaphors. If you say I'm blue, usually that means I'm sad, right? But blue is also a very peaceful color. In European painting, religious painting, the Virgin Mary is always dressed in light blue. That's her symbolic color of her calmness and the heavens. And then there's a whole series of metaphors for I'm confused. Maybe I should just say I'm confused. But why would somebody say I'm in the woods, I'm at sea, I'm in the dark? What's the whole benefit of saying I'm in the woods, I'm in the dark? Okay. It gives an image. It gives an emotional kick on an unconscious level because we're seeing this. If you say he has a stormy personality, we're seeing the storm. Storms can be dangerous. It can even overturn our ship. So it gives a visual image. It puts one in a physical relationship to the situation. Now, what are these? These are not quite proverbs. These are sayings. She's a star. His head is in the clouds. His goose is cooked. See, these sort of idioms make up a large part of any language. English, Tamil, Hindi, I'm sure you can find them everywhere. And what they do is they label new experience in terms of an experience you know. So it's a process of making the present and future familiar to us, saying, yes, this is following a pattern that we already understand. Stop pulling my leg. That means what? Stop confusing me, stop joking. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. Don't put your eggs in one basket. The cat is out of the bag, but don't open that can of worms. I like to say sometimes, I'm going to go eat worms. You know when a person says that? It's like if everyone's looking at me, I'm going to go eat worms. It'll make them feel guilty. Usually doesn't work. They say, okay, go ahead, eat worms. I don't care. Out of the frying pan into the fire. You know, there's a saying, if you're in a hole, the first thing you do is stop thinking, because you don't want to get deeper into the hole. But he's making a mountain out of a molehill. He's making a tempest in a teapot. These are colorful expressions. And of course, a euphemism is an expression that makes things soft. Because if something's very harsh, like a person died, it's much better to say the person passed away, or has passed, or no longer with us, or is no more. So there's a lot of these. So what I want to introduce you now is look at your life story as you've written it, and see if any metaphors jump out at you for any aspect of it. If you did want to create a metaphorical version of an aspect of your life, would you create an alter ego, create an animal, standing in your character, who would be a metaphor for you? Would you create a, maybe you felt kind of trapped, use a metaphor, trapped in a situation. Would you create a prison? See if any metaphors come to mind which, in a colorful way, represent the feeling of what you felt at a certain time in your life, positive or negative. Maybe you were walking on air. But see if any metaphors come to mind for any of it. Just take a few minutes. Write to yourself. When we create metaphorical alter egos for ourselves, we are then immediately free to play, to use our imagination and let things happen that did not happen in real life, but it feels like they might have happened or could happen, or it'd be interesting if they happened. And then explore that situation. Very popular metaphors for growth, development are how the caterpillar turned into a butterfly. And actually, some people use that as a metaphor to somehow make death less painful. They compare themselves or the person who died to a caterpillar who turned into a butterfly. Some things are so painful in life that people would really be totally overwhelmed if they had to think about it in straight literal terms. So sometimes we think and express it in metaphorical terms. For example, Magdalene, who for many years supervised the counselors all over the state in TANZACS, the Tamil Nadu AIDS Control Society. So she's been a psychological counselor for 20 odd years, and she was writing the curriculum and the guidelines, and she would go supervise, and she would see clients in Namakkal and all of the countryside places. And she told me that often women could not bear to say, my husband is a truck driver, he got AIDS, now he's dying of AIDS. They would say, my house is falling. There's a crack in my roof. The walls are crumbling. See, they preferred to represent what was happening with the metaphor of the building of their home, talking about that building, than actually saying that their husband is dying. So one function of metaphors is to say things and conceive of things in a way that we can take it, because it's one step removed from the harsh reality sometimes. Okay, but again, metaphors can be joyful also. All right, now that you have composed a quick version of your life story, you have explored some of the turning points and archetypes. You've considered some similar stories. You've considered, if just for fun, you might want to change either your own experience stories or these other stories. Maybe you want to put yourself into one of the epic stories, or maybe you want to take a character from an epic and put them into your own experience. So you've done all that. You've thought about metaphors. Now you're at the stage of composing a healing story. And how many people attended the workshop yesterday morning? Remember, I led people through a process of creating a story? Remember, I said there's a character, and who is that character? Let's try to do it again a little bit. But try to create a character, think of a character who somehow is involved with some of the issues that are involved in your life story. In a life story, there are going to be joys, there are going to be some frustrations, so there may be some social issues. My father wouldn't let me do something. That's the biggest social issue, you know. Fathers are bad news. And I speak as a father now. We've raised our daughter as a strong feminist to bring down the patriarchy. But I didn't realize I was going to be part of the patriarchy. But okay, the issues have been brought up and put into play through your writing a little bit about your life story. See if you can create a character who is somehow related to some of those issues. It's not you, but it's a character somehow related to you, or somehow she or he is going through something a little similar. So for those of you who were here yesterday, a way to summon this character is to draw a picture. Maybe don't try to think of it in words, or just in your imagination. When we summon a character, it is like we're calling something up from the unconscious, and we're just asking, who is down there? Who would like to come up? Who would like to be seen? Who would like to be heard? Who has a story inside yourself that wants to be told? So see if a character comes up. And just draw her with a stick figure, or him, or if it's an animal. And keeping in mind the joys and frustrations in your own life, see if you want to have this character have any of the ambitions, hopes, dreams that you have in your life. And you in your real life, you've been trying to work towards these goals with varying degrees of success. You know, maybe let this character also choose one aspect of your dreams, of your ambition, of your mission, and give it to this character. And imagine, what does this character want to do? Just choose one thing. And if a character has come to mind who is speaking to you, remember you want to know how she feels, she or he. Does she want anything? I'm sure you remember my speech from yesterday. And just like I suggested if you talk to a coaching client or a therapy client, what could make you happier? Are you fully happy? Or is there something that could make you happier if somehow your life changed? Ask this character also. What does she want? What does she hope for? Okay, well, in a full, you see, storytelling therapy and drama therapy are automatically the whole combination of all the expressive art therapies. Because within storytelling, within drama, you can have characters singing, dancing, you can have masks, you can have scenery. If you ever do something like this, either in a therapeutic setting, a business setting, or just for fun, you know, putting on a skit, you can ask people to tell their individual metaphorical stories, or you can ask them to do it as a skit, you know, act it out together. I think today is not the skit time, but will anyone tell us a metaphorical story, or at least some metaphors that came up in you in the session today? We have 5 minutes. Will anyone tell any story or any metaphor? Delphina, I know I can always count on you. Yes? Wait a minute.
No, when you were saying metaphor, I was thinking about how we view the fox as something cunning and clever. That's
A fox. Mm-hmm.
yeah. But I was also thinking that fox need not always be cunning or malicious.
Certainly a fox is not necessarily malicious. Fox is sly and getting in and getting out of things. And I guess the fox does want the chickens, so that is a negative thing. He's only hungry, that's right. It's not his fault. Anyone else? Anyone think of any animals along the way? Danya, is Danya here? Yeah.
I didn't think of an animal though, but I thought of this story of a monk. I'm not sure if you've heard it. His name is Milarepa, and he's the monk who walked on water. So Yeah, so I have been thinking about this, and probably connected it to the metaphor going out on a limb. That is something that just came to my mind. But this is about this monk who goes to a monastery which is at the top of a mountain. And over there, he becomes the most favorite student of the teacher. And the other monks become extremely envious of him. And they start pushing him into a lot of difficult situations because they want to get rid of him. So they would say, okay, Milarepa, there is this house on fire, and the teacher believes that you can rescue the people. And Milarepa, runs and saves and rescues people. And then they say, Milarepa, the teacher believes that you can jump from the mountain. And without even batting an eyelid, Milarepa jumps from the mountain and lands on his 2 feet. And now the teacher hears of him, and then they all gather together by the lake, and they all say Milarepa. They pass, they start whispering, and the word reaches Milarepa's ears that the teacher believes that Milarepa can walk on water, and he just gets up and he starts walking on the water. And then everybody looks at the teacher, and the teacher says, okay, if he can walk on water, so can I. And then the teacher rushes behind him, and then he thinks, oh, but my robe is going to get wet. Oh, but the water is freezing cold. And, so he jumps up and down and he tries to follow Milarepa. And Milarepa walks into the horizon. And the teacher keeps struggling with basic things and eventually doesn't manage to. I think that, again, he just believed immensely in, first he thought that, okay, the teacher has faith in me. So if the teacher thinks I can do it, so I can, I'm sure I can. But eventually it didn't matter to him. He realized that he could just do anything. And walking on water was not impossible. I think for me it is faith. And that's how I, in my story, I feel that I want to do something which is, I belong to the hills, and now the hills are calling me back. So can I go back? And maybe I can. So, without revealing too much, but yeah.
That's a nice metaphorical phrase. The hills are calling me. Sometimes we imagine that nature is, we don't know if it's a voice from without or it's a voice from within, but we project it onto, perhaps we project it onto the external. Anyone else have a metaphor or a...
I'm not cocooned. I'm not cocooned. That's a metaphor.
I'm not
Cocooned.
You're not cocooned. Okay.
So I always remember the story of the seed. I believe when the scene becomes the reality, that's where we are. That's the originality of us. I have heard of a great person named Joseph, and he was taken as a prisoner, captive. And but he didn't give up on his dreams and what he was initially taught by his parents, even though he was a captive. But later, even in the prison, I saw it recently in a YouTube for narrating a story to my child. It seems when he was in a prison, there was also a small plant. That is the reality what he was seeing. But the unseen was that is going to turn out to be a big tree. Similarly, in our life, what we are facing right now might seem to be the real one, but that is not the real. The unseen is the real.
Okay.
So we have to wait for the phase to cross. So
wait for the
phases to cross. The cocoon is one of the phase, but the beautiful color is waiting for us.
Okay. By the way, seed is a very popular metaphor. I want to put down roots. Okay? I want to bloom. I don't want to be a late bloomer. So we often compare ourselves to a growing tree, vegetation, and we hope that we will be able to put down roots and bloom just like a healthy tree would be able to. Path is a universal metaphor. I'm on a path, the path of my life. I'm on a journey. Any other popular life metaphors come up? Any other thoughts about story or metaphor? Puppet. I'm a puppet on a string. That means I'm being manipulated. Yeah, he's a puppet. That's an insult. He's being controlled by somebody else. Okay, just to review today's session, which was a little bit jumbled because of Magdalene having to leave early. You know, I think she told me she had to leave early, but I blocked it out of my mind. I couldn't absorb it, but it worked out, right? It's just an introductory session. What, of all the things discussed, now you have it all on your handout, what, tell one thing that was especially interesting in today's session that you think might stick with you, either in relation to yourself, your work as a coach, your work as a therapist, your work as a mentor, you know, as it applies to you or as you hope to help to apply it to somebody else. What's one idea in this 7-step process that caught your imagination a little bit, caught your attention? Mm. 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 Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I want to make him feel happy. I felt that he was like most of the times in trouble and finding it very upset. I told him like, what is really making you feel bad or angry in the school? And then he started to list the name of a lot of people. So I was trying to work on each person, like asking, okay, what is your story with this person? What is your story with this person? And he was giving me a lot of story with each one of the people around. And I did not know how to take it beyond that in much better way. Maybe now I can go and follow the few of the other steps with him, relating with some other stories and give him some more examples and make him feel better. Try.
Anyone else?
About themselves. Very seldom they will really open up. But metaphor might be able to get them there on gentle, softer way, and maybe the way they will start thinking for themselves that they are not on the spot, or they don't have to say anything they don't want to. Sometimes I find is the world I come from is people are very sensitive in everything, every little, they want to hold on to it, but how to get them out will be the metaphor. You know, each time you're talking to them, if you know them, then you know what kind of metaphor is going to be really suited to their character or their ways or whatever, if they come to you. I think that's the way I will use it for myself. Delicate process.
It allows people to live a little incorrect, you know, and say, there's a character over here who's going to this. It's not necessarily me, but it's going on here.
Yeah.
You know, then you can think about it and discuss it without putting the person totally on the spot.
I think so. Very indirectly, but at the same time, it will just get into their mind that what they are feeling is not that. Everybody feels that. It's similar. The feelings are all similar. We're all human beings. But for themselves, it's right now, I don't want to share it because maybe it's not right or wrong or whatever the way they think. It's very difficult situation to handle. So the words are very important.
So Darshana, do you want to say anything to the words or Sudhir?
No, what I want.
Say something to us? Just a second.
Sudarshana's talking.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Sudarsana, will you go ahead and speak to us?
Yes. What I got is like talk to the characters and answer back. With that, like I was working in a preschool as a teacher. I do have parents asking me like about the behavior of the child and how do we, interact with them and correct them. So maybe I can suggest them like talk to them as on what is their interest and what had happened, not in a rude way like tell me what happened today like this, and the way how they like, so that they can give more answers, and then the parents can go ahead and come to know what had happened with them. So that was one of the ideas which I got, and I can even go ahead and try with my own kid as well.
Should I say? To me, I would say the most important takeaway of today's program is how we can use stories to open up someone and have them express their emotions when they are otherwise unwilling to engage. The Maglins example was eye-opener for me. Thank you.
I'm not able to hear you, Eric.
Sudhir, go ahead and tell a few thoughts to us.
Okay, so Eric, it was wonderful knowing those 7 steps, but one particular step which basically made a lot of impact on me is that when you are replacing your story and then bringing a third character onto it, and you start imagining as if my own story, putting another character. Once there used to be a boy, I was thinking that, and then you give an external angle to that story, and then you start realizing that how I would have reacted differently, how the character is thinking, how the character's emotions are running, and how differently the character could react to a same kind of a situation, which you might not be able to think when you yourself is telling your own story or portraying your own story. So being an external party to a third party's story makes a lot of impact. So I think that was a huge learning for me, plus the metaphor thing. I think, condensing whole of your story to a single metaphor and then expanding it further makes a lot of sense and brings a lot of emotions as well. So very wonderful. Thank you very much for that, Eric, and everyone.
Unmute. That really brings the session to a close, and just a second, and it brings our 2 days of video conference workshops to a close. Did anyone attend both days? And many of you attended this morning also. I want to thank you so much. I believe history has been made, because to have a group physically plus a group coming in like this, it's not easy. You see how Danya and I have been running around doing this. In the right situation, we'd have multiple cameras and multiple microphones, and it would all be very high-end corporate or high-end government. We don't have that facility, but we had this beautiful facility. But I believe you'll be seeing a lot more of this kind of thing in the future. As colleges have more and more classes taught by video conference, the demand will be there for there to be some students in the flesh and some coming in this way. Often when this happens, the people who are coming in by conference are not given a chance to talk, because they're just in the passive mode. But we were able to enable them, and Barry's presentation this morning was really fantastic. We have to thank him again. Okay, so thank you so much. Did you want to say something? Just exercising your arm. Okay, the performances here tonight are in 20 minutes, 7 storytellers, and so we'll set that up in a few seconds. Oh, this is from Magdalene. This is about, we'll put this on a table. This is, what, should we just hand it out? I don't want it. If you hand it out, it'll end up on the floor. I don't think we should hand it out. Let's put it on a table. Yeah, yeah. This is about the PG process about psychodrama. There's a talk on Institute beginning, I think, next month. But the class will be here in Chennai. No, there's no video conference component this time. This is based in Mumbai, but the course is over here. I'll work on the video conference training aspects. Yes, yes. This is about Magdalene. She has 7 counselors on staff who schools hire Magdalene's company to provide psychological counseling for the students. Schools, many of them don't have their own counselors anymore. They outsource to companies like Magdalene. So, and then some of those students and their parents also come to private counseling to our clinic. So, if you're interested in any aspect of child counseling or family counseling or individual counseling, any counseling, and this is about the Indian Institute of Psychodrama. No, it's about the, you understand there are 2 companies. And I should know, I'm the assistant director of both of them. The Center for Counseling is all of the different arts together, and the psychodrama is especially about psychodrama, which is one of the expressive art therapies. So if you're interested in any of this, please pick up a file. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, and I forgot to stop the recording. I'll stop it right now. Thank you, Sudhir. Thank you, Delphina. Thank you, Sudarsana, and everyone else.
Thank you, Eric. Have a good night ahead. Thank you.
Yes, we'll try. Thank you.